They title it as a junior position, but then they ask you 5 years experience. Then you read it, you don't understand what they want from you, or the skills that you don't even know or haven't heard of.
Only in my class I already know like 10 people who had an internship, and 5 of them didn't even finish it there, and the other 5 were like, okay, I need to go through with it and I'll see after, but I need to do it.
Guys, how long it takes for the university to update the curriculum?
5 to 7 years
At least in Spain.
for a proactive university. So that's a long time.
So in average, how many years does it take for the student to get out of the education system?
More or less 5 to 7 years. Depends on the degree. So
And how fast is the market moving these days?
every 6 months.
So there's a big mismatch
There's
there,
a big
right?
mismatch.
How do we solve the problem? Identifying the gap, but it's everything we do is skills based.
Welcome to the Trencher Talks. We're here today to discuss about MyTrencher, the origins of MyTrencher, why we started the business, the story and the vision behind and the mission behind the product and why we're developing this. So I just want to introduce the team that we have here. So we have Alberto on my left, who is our CTO at MyTrencher. And we have Sarah on the right, who is our UI UX manager, social media manager, plate spinner, does everything everything else in the business. But importantly, she is the voice of the customer, because what we're building with MyTrencher is built by students for students. So I think that's important that we show that and show and explain our mission. So
Who are you?
Who am I? Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. So I'm Peter. I'm the founder of MyTrencher, and I can talk a little bit about why we are building what we're building, and it's about, as I said, building something for students by students, but it's also the pain as a family that we went through, and as a parent for yourself, Sarah,
True.
which is your journey as a student, and whilst you're highly qualified with a degree and a master's, I think we generally believe that the system is failing students. Through your personal experience with looking for jobs and trying to find work after you graduate, obviously you speak 3 languages, German, English, and Spanish fluently, which is a big plus for students or for any person. I wish I could speak 3 languages fluently. I tried Spanish, but it's a disaster. As you probably see from last week's podcast, which was the Spanish version, which was hilarious. So yeah, I mean, just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey and why you feel that our mission at MyTrencher is so important to you personally, but also to the students around the world.
So a little bit about backstory, how you mentioned I have a bachelor's and I have a master's. So I have a bachelor's in graphic design illustrations, so visual communications basically, and then I have a master's in UI UX front-end marketing. So I thought, well, I was quite lucky and quite smart enough when I finished my bachelor's that I found a niche that I liked, and it was UI UX. And I went full on with it as a master's. I also did, at the same time that I was studying, I was working as a project manager. Was it ideal? No, but it gave me experience. And I was under the impression that once I will be finished with my master's, that it would have been easy peasy process to find a job, because how Peter mentioned, I speak 3 languages. I've studied abroad. I studied in Germany. I studied in the UK with the UK system. Also the Spanish system. I did a master's. I went with a niche that at the time that I was studying, it was just getting known. So it was a high demand.
But that was also a personal push from
It was a
from me
personal
as well,
push
wasn't it?
from
Yeah.
my parents because they've always encouraged us to follow our dreams and to really put the effort. And I had a portfolio. So whoever's done UI UX, you basically did a little bit of front end. So I did coding, not my best experience.
Not your favorite
I will
subject.
leave it to Alberto. So I had like a digital portfolio, and so one of the requirements for my master's was to do a presentation. And I did my presentation. I was approached by a CEO and a company here in Spain. Not going to name names. They called me a week afterwards for an interview. And basically I went there to not lose my time, because I think it's important to, as a young student or young person, to go out there and do interviews to get that experience.
Yeah.
But it was a big waste of time. I went there. They were looking for someone senior. They weren't looking for a junior. They knew they were not going to hire me.
Which was a different message to what they told you at your presentation.
It was true.
Yeah,
It was not the CEO of old. He wasn't in charge of the process. And they told me that they wanted to keep my CV for the future. I'm still waiting.
We'll keep you on. Thanks very much for the interview, but we'll keep you on file.
So that was like my first like bad experience with job searching. But how I mentioned, I was still working, so I was quite lucky. But the pressure came on once I decided to finish my contract with the project management job that I was having. And I wanted to fully focus on UI UX because it was my passion. It's what I studied. It's what I thought. And I'm passionate, and I wanted to dedicate my life to. I can't tell you how many job listings I read, how many applications I sent. First of all, the struggle to understand a job listing is very hard. As a student, they title it as a junior position, but then they ask you 5 years experience. Then you read it, you don't understand what they want from you, or the skills that you don't even know or haven't heard of, but you just apply, and then you basically get ghosted. I think I sent like in between a week, I would send like maybe 30 applications each week. I only heard from one back.
And that was an automated response because it was a company that I actually I know personally.
And it was like, thanks, we just go in with another person.
Yeah.
And that was really, very hard as a young, I'm still young, but like as a young person who's trying to make a name of themselves in the job market. Mm-hmm. And it was devastating because I didn't know what to do. I continued to improve my skills. I thought I was doing everything right, and I thought I was up to the market demands. But then each time I got declined or not an answer back, it's just like, it is very devastating to say the least. Yeah. It's unmotivating. It got to a point I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if my CV was wrong, if I was wording my words wrong, if maybe I wasn't talented enough and that's why they were not calling me. Mm-hmm. The list is endless, and I think you saw my struggles. You saw how
as a parent,
how hard it was on me, and it also has a lot to do with your mood. So it also inflected other ways in my life. Like I was very negative. I was very unmotivated with everything because for me, I've always been very career basically motivated. I've always wanted to.
Well, you wanted the best for yourself.
I wanted the best for myself, and I just wanted to go out there and learn. I didn't care if it was an internship. I didn't care if I had to work 12 hours a day. I just wanted a chance. I just wanted to...
Someone to take a chance on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But coming back to a point that we discussed as a team, and myself and Alberto are really, on the same track with this. It's when a student when you're in education, you're constantly getting graded, you're constantly getting feedback, you're constantly getting reported, you're constantly sitting exams, but you have that continuous feedback loop. But once Alberto can probably talk about this as well. I mean, once you leave education, you fall off a cliff, and that feedback loop stops.
Yeah.
So
then right after it, so you stop learning, right?
Yeah.
Which is very important on your journey, not only as a student but as a human being. I believe learning is something that will get you far. And then you stop learning because there's no feedback, there are no grades. Grades are, I'm saying that is the right or wrong indicator, but it's feedback. It's working with your peers, working with other students, getting feedback from the actual students, the team, the teachers, right? Looking at grades. So this is all like a
positive reinforcement
signals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those are signals that, kind of tell you where to go.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
when you don't have that, when you submit hundreds of applications, right, as Sarah was talking about, and when you hear, which is pretty rare these days, when you hear something, you don't learn anything from it other than, what am I doing wrong? Because you don't get any messages. You don't say,
No signals.
I didn't select you because of A. I didn't like this. I didn't like that, right? What is missing? Because that's what makes the students improve, grow, and learn and get better.
But do we think that's really a systemic problem, or do we think it's for me, it's not a new phenomena. It's not. Even with my experience or my age, which we won't go into, but you still get ghosted by companies. You still don't get the feedback. I think, do we believe it's a systemic problem? Do we believe it's because of the digital age that we're in? Because to me, I don't see that when I graduated, it was you create a CV, you tailor that CV according to the type of role you're applying for, and that still happens today. So is it a systemic problem, or is it something that we feel is evolving with the digital age?
Great point. I feel like it's a combination of all of those things, right? So if we think about how recruiting was 50 years ago, right? It was not so different than what we're doing today,
No.
right? The idea was, what I'm trying to say is like, it's just an evolution. There's the evolution side of things where let's say you have like a bakery and you were looking for people to help. You would put like, some like a post on the door, and people would walk by
past.
and, interesting. Maybe it was not for you, but you would know someone that was looking for something, right? Related, say, hey, you got to go there, like they're hiring. So the person would walk in, hey, I am Alberto. I saw the post. Someone told me about it. Can you, tell me about the job and what it entails and all that. And then that would start as a conversation, right? Then, the interview would happen and all that. 50 years from that point, it's not so different, right? It's there's a constant influx of like people interested on that job advert, and from there, the employer on the other side has to figure out a way to select the right person, right?
Yeah.
Based on the requirements. So, in my opinion, it's an evolution of the system that was already in place. We use technology to just accelerate things, right, and make it more efficient, right? But it's an evolution. To answer your question about the systemic problem, I don't think there is no one to blame. I don't think it's the problem, a problem of the education system we have in place. I don't think it's a problem of the employer, the way they approach it. I don't think it's a problem with how the students, do what they do.
Approach it, yeah.
Yeah, the way I look at it is you have employers that have needs. They need to find people as soon as possible. You have the universities that are trying their best to set a foundation to teach, students what matters as fast as they can. We're talking about like 3, 4, 5 years, or vocational programs like 1, 2 years. And then no one is to blame here, but the students are the ones that suffer.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're the ones that are not, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes not ready for the job market.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, where to go, how to focus, right? Industries, roles. I think to go back to your point is it was very easy to, try to help someone with a bakery that, needed help. Today, you have so many options. And Peter, you talk a lot about this.
Yeah, too much
There's
choice.
So many options. Yeah.
Too much choice almost.
It's confusing right from the get-go. It's already like, you're already lost from day one.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's circle back to our mission at MyTrencher, why we're building what we're building. I think we understand why we're building what we're building at MyTrencher. Maybe I could explain a little to our podcast audience about the name, where the name came from.
Sure.
I mean, that's it's emblazoned on our lovely green tops that we're wearing, which Sarah absolutely detests, by the way.
No comment.
So yeah, the trencher. When I was searching for names for the brand, it was very much graduates, students, graduation cap, motorboard. No, I can't call it motorboard. Generally just doing some research, and then I came across the word trencher, and the origins of the name trencher come from the cap that was worn. It's basically a square-pointed board that in the old days was used at Cambridge and Oxford universities as the graduation cap, and it was called a trencher. So I thought, okay, that's interesting, of course. You look at trenchers online, and you get lots of equipment that's digging channels in the ground.
Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, well, let's use that name, but we put a twist on it, and we'll use it and call it trencher. So that's really where the origins of the name came from. But then, as you mentioned earlier, Sarah, why we're building what we're building as a mission to help students and graduates, because I don't think we need to be careful how we frame the business and the name and what we're trying to build, because we're not just focusing on students and their journey and to make them employable and their employability. It's also about the graduates who are already through their educational cycle. They've already graduated. They've done very well to get to that point, but then they're in the wilderness. They're looking for help, support, and guidance.
Support.
Exactly. I think for me, this is a personal mission that I want to give back. I'm 30 years into my career, and I've been fortunate enough to travel all over the world with my job funny enough, my career started as an industrial designer and product design, but then it evolved, and then I moved into different areas of design. Like many different aspects of your career or your profession, there's so many different avenues that you can take. If you're studying a certain subject, I mean, within industrial design, there's thousands of roles. Within aerospace, automotive, product design, marine, rail. I mean, you can go in all directions you want. But the one thing that I felt very comfortable with and that I thought that I wanted to learn more about and understand better was and it was just starting at the time when I'd graduated about the 3D design and how CAD systems would come to the front. In the old days, obviously, it was AutoCAD, which was used by a lot of architectural people, but AutoCAD was what I started on as a designer. For me, that was the catalyst to my future within the industry. Then I moved to various different disciplines, but then settled in automotive, which took me all over the world, working for some fantastic OEMs around the world. But I guess I was fortunate.
You were lucky.
I was lucky. But not everyone's in that position.
I think nowadays, how you mentioned before, like a couple years back when you did it, it was many career paths you could do. A couple. I'm trying to be nice. Were many career paths you could take. I think nowadays the field is so big. Like I wasn't aware with like how many like markets I could go, like job markets I could go with graphic design. All I thought was like a graphic designer, I needed to work as a graphic designer or like illustrator or like something similar. I wasn't aware of all the opportunities I had there because there's so many.
It's almost like you don't know where to start.
You don't know where to start. And for me was at least for my bachelor's, my teachers didn't guide me much. They didn't give me a lot of tools. All they told me was create a LinkedIn profile and do your portfolio and CV and see how it goes. They didn't prepare us for the market whatsoever. So I finished my bachelor's and I knew I didn't want to just stick to graphic design. I thought I was limiting myself a little bit because I wasn't aware of all the opportunities I had. And one of the things I liked the most when I was doing my bachelor's was the thought process of, why am I doing this? Why does the client want this? How do I approach this design system or design idea? And then I think we had multiple conversations and you were like, oh, why don't you look into UI UX? It has a little bit to do with what you are currently telling me that you like the aspect of
And it was an upcoming sector.
It was an upcoming sector that I wasn't aware of. And the more research I did on it, I was like, this sounds very,
This is cool.
This is cool. Why? Let me just try it out. And funny enough, is one of the best decisions I made. And then I was very lucky with my master's. I had teachers that really did try to push us, guide us. They didn't limit our knowledge. So how I mentioned, one of the parts they did, it was front end. It has nothing to do with UI UX, but whoever has studied UI UX or knows front end knows that it's very good to know a little bit of front end because it helps you whilst you design. And knowing a little bit of everything, it has its benefits. And even though they knew which route we were going to take, most likely they still try to push us to be better at the other aspects of the courses. And that really gave me that confidence, that guidance that I needed. And they were, once I finished my master's, they still the teachers still reached out to us. They still tried to help us. But
the good thing about having that diverse or being immersed into different aspects of UI UX design, front end, or the user experience, user interface design, it helps you focus on what you really like, what you find that you enjoy. And circling back to the mission and the vision for what we're building at MyTrencher is that we want the students to not only follow a passion, because following a passion can lead you down the wrong path, but it's also giving you exposure to different aspects of your degree or your course that you feel, okay, yeah, that's something I really enjoy. Like with myself, with the 3D design, it was like, that's something I really enjoyed. You, Alberto, with your computer science, and you didn't want to be a coder, just sat at a desk coding. There were other aspects of your degree which you enjoyed, that you had exposure to, and it's about having that exposure. But it's how you formulate that exposure, and you actually give not everyone has the ability to be able to assimilate that information and think, okay, this is something I really enjoy. I'd like to have more of that. And that's part of our mission at MyTrencher, is to give the students more of that. So we give them the guidance and the support that they need so they do more of what they enjoy. Because ultimately, I can only speak for myself, and I'm not going to say I haven't worked a day in my life, but I have. But I'm lucky that all my jobs that I've ever done, I've enjoyed. So I do not feel like I've worked a day in my life. It's something that has been a passion of mine, design and engineering. So it's something that I've really, really enjoyed. What about yourself, Alberto?
Well, I think it's important to talk a little bit about what you just said. That I think follow your passion is terrible advice.
Yeah.
It's terrible advice because it is so unfair when you are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old to figure out what your passion is and what you're going to do for the rest of your life. You see people talking, they're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, just restarting their careers or finally finding their passion. How can you do that?
Starting a startup.
Yes. So how can you do that so young? So I think we have to start there. I think the advice for the new generation is, I think you have to be exposed to many, many things, right? And endure, and then succeed, overcome the challenges before you actually find your passion, find something that you can do for the rest of your life or for the next decade. So that would be my advice. For myself, I mean, it took me decades to find out, what my passion is. I love two things: help people and solve problems. It took me a long time to get where I am today. So that's what I love doing, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But it took me time.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the product, about MyTrencher. We've been building this product for about a year. It's evolved quite significantly, I think, from when we started our research about the problem, the gap between education and employability. I think that was the direction that we started to take, because initially we started looking at the ghosting side of the business.
Yeah, that was the first pain point we developed. It was the ghosting theory. So we thought, how can we fix this in a easy, quick way? And how we mentioned, like, the most important thing for a student or for someone who's just finished their studies, you feel lost, so you don't know what to do. And that feedback is very fun. It's very important.
It's fundamental.
It's fundamental, yeah. It's very important, just because you might just be wording yourself wrong. You might be missing a skill or something that will make you stand out. Or even hearing a no is always better than anything.
A no is better than nothing.
Yeah, so we developed, the first theory was the ghosting theory, but how are we going to mention it? Just stayed...
Well, no, ghosting is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But then the idea evolved as we did our research about the real problem. We then realized that the size of the problem is enormous. The actual, if you dig into the statistics, the stats around student and graduate employment and employability, and the skills gap that we identified is, I mean, the numbers are just mind-blowing, in the trillions, trillions and trillions. It's a scale that we just can't comprehend. So all we can do is try and fix one problem at a time, and help each individual student on their path to employability, on their journey. Maybe, Alberto, you want to touch a little on the product and how we...
Yeah, maybe before we get there, I think it's important to share that the three pillars that we have established as, guidance, like the pillars that we use, that, is the actual, not only
foundation,
the pillars, but the foundation,
of
MyTrencher. Simplicity.
Yeah.
Why simplicity? When talking to students, when you talk to hundreds of them, right, you hear many things like, I look at a job description, I don't really understand. Why? It's full of jargon, right? It's long, right? And when you're at school, when you're studying, I mean, you're not used to that jargon, but you also, like it can be very intimidating, right? When it's something that it's long, it doesn't tell you anything. So that's why the simplicity. So that's pillar number one. Pillar number two, community. Why community? When talking to the students, they say things like, we feel like we're a number.
Yeah.
We feel like we're not being heard. We feel like we're alone.
Security was another big one that students
I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe, yeah.
When looking for a job or on the actual job, right? So all those things we hear, like they're heartbreaking, and we need to bring this feeling of belonging, right, to MyTrencher. So that's the community pillar.
Not just a number.
Yes. And number three, as important as the other two, is guidance, right? It's really that feeling, going back to that, really that feeling of like, hand-holding, getting them and say, hey, let's go together. That's the guidance pillar, and in guidance meaning guiding them on their full journey, as we're doing from day one. Employability should be your focus from day one. We're going to talk more about it. But this guidance of like holding their hands as they go, through that journey to employability. And that's the guidance pillar. It's guiding them. They need guidance. When we're talking to them, they're lost.
Absolutely.
And it's not their fault.
Yeah. No, it's not their fault.
So we're here to guide. So those are the three pillars. Product. How do we do it? Right? So based on those three pillars, and many, many, many conversations with them. Not only them, talking to universities, talking to employers, right? we came up that with this idea of like the only way to solve this problem is through skills.
Yeah.
When we look at what you get at the university, when you look at, you know, what the job market is screaming about, right? They have their needs, right? And when we look at what the university is setting as a foundation, we look at the gap.
Yeah.
So that was screaming to us, right, Sarah? Like that.
Yeah, it's a huge gap between what the market demands and what you are currently studying or being taught. That is such a huge gap. But it's not the university's fault neither, because the market does tend to change every
But the
6
market's
months.
evolving.
It's
quickly.
evolving. It's evolving
Yeah.
quickly with AI and everything. So universities' curriculums, they can't really
Can't keep up.
keep up.
No.
No.
Fully agree.
And guys, how long it takes for the university to update the curriculum?
5 to 7 years
At least in Spain.
for a proactive university. So that's a long time.
So in average, how many years does it take for the student to get out of the education system?
More or less 5 to 7 years. Depends on the degree. So
And how fast is the market moving these days?
every 6 months.
So there's a big mismatch
There's
there,
a big
right?
mismatch. Yeah.
How do we solve the problem? Identifying the gap, but it's everything we do is skills based, right? So that's the thing that makes us different than everybody else. It's like a skills based platform, right? We identify what are those skills. Like when we look at the gap, what are the skills that are going to connect? Is going to be the bridge to all those things, right?
Yeah.
And in the end, increase the employability levels of the students getting out of the system and delivering on the market needs, right? And that's also the goal of the universities as well. Make sure they are successful once they leave university. They're ready for the market.
Absolutely.
So win-win-win, right? For
Yeah.
all three.
Okay, so what makes us different to competitors? I think the guidance and the proactive approach is probably the foundation of MyTrencher and what we're trying to do for the students. When I say proactivity, we look at our competitors and they're working in a reactive mode. So they're waiting for the students to qualify, asking for a CV, maybe a cover letter. They're posting jobs on the usual platforms. But the foundation of what we're building with the guidance, one of our 3 pillars is the guidance. From that aspect, we are proactive, which is fresh and unique in the marketplace. How we're doing that is through our route to employability for the students. So we're giving them the guidance. We're holding their hands from day one. And we're helping them understand their own personal journeys. And I think for me that when we had that light bulb moment, when we realized, hey, everybody else is working in a reactive mode,
Yeah.
what are we missing here? And it's the proactive nature of what we're building now is really the cornerstone of our product.
I mean, reactive wave, waiting until someone graduates, I think is a little bit too late.
Yeah.
Because you could have been learning maybe skills throughout your studies that would have made that percentage higher.
Yeah.
So that was also my case. It was how I mentioned prior. I thought I was completely ready. I thought I had all the skills, all the hard skills, soft skills. I was ready. But then I compared myself from what the market was demanding, and it was we mentioned it was a huge gap. And if you think about it, once you finish studying, the last thing you want to do is add 6 months more and learning those skills that may change in 6 months.
Because the skills are evolving as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a evolving circle that never stops. So if you'd have given that guidance, or in my case, if I was given that guidance, those tools since day one to know, okay, here are the career paths I can take. Here is the skills that I need if I decide to go this path. It would have helped me enormously. It would have made my focus more determined. It would have made me feel more confident.
You would have
Understood the market, what demands, and I would have understand myself as a professional person, what I wanted and what I could ask for. And that tool I think is very, very needed.
Absolutely.
If we double click on the reactivity or this reactive approach on all three, let's say, stakeholders we have in the ecosystem, the student, right? How is the student reactive? When we talk to them, and again, it's not their fault.
No.
When we talk to them, we hear that many times, right, Sarah? Hey, do you know what careers to focus on? What's going to be your goal? What did we hear, Sarah, when we asked this question?
I think it has to do a lot because they don't get that pressure from anyone, that guidance. So they unaware of what career paths they can take. They're not unaware of where they could go, what they can do with the studies. So basically, the unknown. You get mixed signals. So very small percentage of students that we have talked to, they know what they want to do, they know what they need to do, and they know how to get it. And they're very, very focused on that
Determined.
path. Determined. And then a very high percentage is the ones that they don't know where they want to go, they don't know how or where to start, and they feel completely lost and frightened, basically, because they know once they fall out the cliff, how we like to describe it, they are on their own, and the struggle is going to start.
But I personally think as well, and having all of the discussions we've had with students and the Gen Z generation, I don't like to call them Gen Z, young talent. They do feel scared. They do feel lost. They're almost, because of the world, because of digital media and social media and the way that they interface with the internet and social device and their devices, they're almost not only unprepared but frightened to put their best foot forward and take a leap of faith almost into a career which they might not like, or they weren't aware
that they could do.
Or it's that's why I was mentioning earlier about the systemic problem but from their perspective, from the students' perspective, how they feel about their own personal journeys.
The unknown is always scary.
Of course. The unknown.
That makes them reactive.
Reactive,
right? Yeah. Let's talk about the reactiveness of the employer side, right? So how is the employer? How are the employers reactive? The need, they cannot anticipate the need.
No.
That is a fair point.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But the reactiveness is more about, if you think about the current way of doing things in recruiting, right? In general, for the employers, like, boom, I have a need.
Yeah.
Okay, now I need to source. Then I have to, select from all that talent, make a selection, get the best of the best. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, send the offer. Then you have to onboard. The nature of the current process is reactive, right? That's on the employer side. So let's talk about the university. How, you touched on that earlier, how is the university approach reactive? Well, when you take a curriculum that takes 5 to 7 years to be updated, be changed.
Or approved, basically.
Yeah, it's reactive. Yeah, and again, it's not, we don't want to blame anyone. It's just if you look at the process that the universities, they have to go through, even to make those, sometimes small updates to the curriculum, right? It takes forever. So that's the reactive native, native. The reactive nature of, the process that the universities have to go through that makes them reactive. Yeah. So let's talk about MyTrencher and being proactive. How proactive is our product, right? Sarah, if you were a student today, right,
yeah.
How would MyTrencher make you proactive?
So basically, the way it will make me proactive will be, firstly, it tells me where I am always in my curriculum. So what MyTrencher does, it analyzes your curriculum. Without giving too much detail, I'm going to explain this because we don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But so basically, it analyzes you as a person, your skills.
Who you are.
Where you are
Mm-hmm.
Where you are currently. And the more you feed into the system, so that's what I like to explain to students, the more you tell us who you are as a person, what you want, even though if you don't know what you want or you don't know who you are, just tell us, we will guide you. And then throughout the years, we are always constantly giving you a market analyzed. So what we do is we analyze you as a person, your needs, your skills, and then we compare it to the market. And we kind of fill that gap. We tell you what you need to do, not what you need to do. So basically, we give you the tools to understand
Yourself.
And how to be ready for the market. And how we mentioned it changes every 6 months. So that is always going to be a constant feed into the user to understand what they need to do to improve. So that's what, for me, that would have been a great tool, because it would have opened my eyes, basically. It would have given me that confidence, how I mentioned, to when applying for a job, knowing that I was 100% fitted for that job. And it would have been wonderful. I mean, who doesn't want to be taught what to do? Not what to do, but given that guidance to be like, here is the courses you could do, or here is where you could improve, or basically how we mentioned, like a student who maybe will not remember what they did the first year. But what we do is we follow the student throughout the years. So we constantly are asking them, oh, what did you like about that course? Or what didn't you like? So we really do understand the user, and it's very individual guidance for each user. So once you finished, if you still don't know where to go or where to head yourself through, then we remind the user what they liked and what they didn't like, and what fits them the most as a person. Doesn't mean they have to do it, but the guidance is there.
It's a good job we have a good UI UX person helping us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because what we hear from them is that we want a TikTok UI UX for to solve the problem that we're facing. Peter, let's touch a little bit on the employer side of things. So how does MyTrencher make the employer proactive?
Again, I mean, it's very similar to the student. It helps them understand the capabilities in detail of a particular candidate. So we're almost acting in the same way as well with the students, by giving the companies and the employers guidance, so that they can look at the market needs, they can look at the students that are available on the market, they can analyze the students' capabilities. As an ex-recruiter myself, in engineering, you go in blind. You don't know one CV from another. You look at a flat piece of paper. You don't understand who this person is. You have no idea of their strengths, their weaknesses, other than a blank piece of paper. Yeah. Part of our platform at MyTrencher on the profile is the living profile that is evolving with the student or the graduate. So an employer can see this. They can see that the student with the video introduction, which is as we say, the gut feeling. So when an employer sees the person firsthand,
by who they are,
they get seen for who they are, not what they are, which is really, really important to an employer, because the employers we've spoken to, they don't have the capacity, depending on the size of the organization, they don't have the capacity to sift through 200, 300, 500, 1,000 CVs for a handful of positions. They don't have the capacity. It's costly to them. They just don't have the capability. So for them to be able to virtually interview or see a candidate before they actually interview them in person, I think is really value added for the companies. It saves time, saves cost. They may not even have a recruitment department. If it's a very small SME or a PYME, as we have here in Spain, with a handful of people, they just don't have that capability. So the messaging is, for me, it's 100 crystal clear for employers, how we bring the benefit.
Makes it assertive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's maybe close with the university side. How can we help the universities being proactive? I think to answer this question, we have to acknowledge that the market is a moving target, right? And that's the same for the employer. Whatever the university is doing, right? And we talked about 5 to 7 years to update a curriculum. And unfortunately, the market is moving, right? So they will never be able to, deliver exactly to
what
spec
the market needs.
What the market needs. So it's a moving target, whatever they're doing. So they focus on the foundation, right? So how can we make the universities be more proactive is by delivering on some of the needs that the market has. Maybe that's the moving target, right? We actually can track where the target is going, and then we give it to the student, we give it to the university the option to bridge that little gap.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's little, sometimes it's very,
Chasm,
very wide.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's how we make the universities proactive.
Yeah. But I think it's also important for our audience to understand it could be a university watching this, it could be an employer, could be a concerned parent or a student themselves. What we're building is the ecosystem where everyone benefits in this ecosystem. So
There's no winner. There's multiple winners.
there's multiple winners.
Win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win for everybody, especially the universities, because the return on investment that they get, depending on the university type, if it's public or private universities are very much a business and not publicly funded. So the private universities really need to get a new influx, or what we call the cyclic influx of students, to come through the system to keep their business afloat. So that's really important. The strategic, we talk about this a lot within the team, and it's the strategic approach versus the operational approach of the universities, the career teams especially. As we know, there's only a handful of career advisors within the team. There could be 3 or 4, depending on how many thousands of students there are. MyTrencher is built to help the careers teams to move to a strategic mode rather than work in an operational way, so that it's impossible for those 3 or 4 people in that team to service 20, 30, 40, 50,000 students. It's impossible. So what we're doing with the platform is helping them give strategic guidance so that the student can go to the careers team and say, hey, look, we're using MyTrencher. This is a platform that they've built. This is the guidance they're giving us. Then the strategic discussion can happen between the university and the student, and the careers team. So I think that's the messaging to the university, is that we're not here we're not a threat to them, to their ecosystem, their own personal ecosystem. We're not here to judge anybody, but we're bringing that level of confidence within their system so that they can work in a strategic way, and they can work more focused on the student outcomes and the students' reality.
I mean, I think we could add like a fun thing to the mixture. We did forgot to mention the funnest aspect. I know that you guys don't like to call it this way, but I love to call it this way. It's the Tinder. We have like kind of like a Tinder for jobs, so they all benefit from each other.
The Tinder effect.
Yeah, Tinder effect. So basically, feature that we do is it works for the 3 pillars. So for employers, we match them with the best candidates for the job listing. Students, myself, when you start looking for jobs, you don't even know what to look. So we also give that guidance to the students. We give them the best job listings in our platforms for them. And I mean, for the career advisors team, they can give their students the best job listings for the students. So that's a fun feature that we have in our platform, that they all benefit from each other.
Let's talk a little bit briefly about the community and the series, the podcast that we're building. We started, as I said earlier, our podcast in Spanish last week. But obviously for global exposure to MyTrencher, we're having a podcast in English. So it's a series called the Trencher Talks. But that's just part of what we're building. So it's important for us that our message resonates with the with the audience, with the students, with the companies, and with the universities. We're also building the community behind that for the students to be able to share insights, share their concerns, share how they feel about the search for jobs, interact with their peers, and discuss everything job related or not job related. The idea behind that is that they can create their own communities within the community. If it's a community related to, for example, industrial engineering or veterinary science, then they can have their own community within that, within the MyTrencher
So they can
community.
help each other.
So they can help each other. That's what we want to develop
It's
with the students.
free community built by students for students.
Absolutely. And the idea is to bring in industry experts when we need to.
Stories from other students that have been going through the same, challenge that you guys, go through every day, hearing from them what worked for them, what didn't work, so you can get those tips from them as well, and really create like a community that supports itself, where, if someone, broke through the, the job challenges and, found herself or himself on, a specific company and hear about a specific need, a new internship that's coming up, can share that with, the community, right? Or even like support the community itself, right? Because you don't need to do this alone.
No. Shouldn't be painful.
No.
Shouldn't be painful, yeah. So we want to create conversations. We want to create a support network where all those students support themselves, and former students that already play somewhere that, can help, and not only giving like support, but even like opening doors, right? Pointing them to opportunities, real opportunities on the companies that they are currently in.
And also the brand ambassadorship that we're looking for students to help us grow the brand awareness of MyTrencher within their institutions, within the universities. That's important, not only to us, trying to help them, but for them helping other students as well. That's something that we really want the students to develop. So any students that are watching this, we need your help to bring the message to the masses, and help yourselves, help us help you.
Our goal is to help as many students and early grads as we can around the world.
Absolutely.
That's the mission.
Okay, thanks, guys. So next we'll have an interview with our interns, Sem and Casper from Rock Business School in the Netherlands. So thanks for the time today. It's been, I think, enlightening for hopefully the audience understands where we're going with our product, and this is the starting point in our series of podcasts where we want to involve as many industry experts as possible. We also look for students to help us. We want to learn from their personal experiences, so we're calling on students to join us at our podcast to have a conversation and share their experience of the job market. So tune in, and we'll see you soon on our next podcast.
All right, guys. I'm very excited, super pumped to have two very nice young men with me here today, Sem, Casper. Sem and Casper joined our team a few weeks ago. They're going to tell a little bit about themselves. They joined us from Netherlands. They are helping us with anything you can imagine in the office. We're a small startup. But without further ado, Sem, Casper, welcome.
Thank you.
To the podcast. Welcome to MyTrencher. And I just, want to say thank you for everything you guys have been doing so far. But let's start with the interview.
All right.
All right. So first of all, I just want you guys to introduce yourselves to the audience. Talk a little bit about yourself growing up, the journey you have been going through so far. So maybe let's start there. Sem, you start?
Yeah. Well, my name is Sem. I'm now 19 years old. And I'm in the class with Casper in the Netherlands at the ROC Midden-Nederland, it's called. And so this is our last internship from our study. We have done an internship before in the Netherlands, but now here in Valencia. So yeah, excited. We are here now for 3.5 weeks. So getting to know everyone a bit, but it's going good.
Casper, how about yourself?
Yeah. Now, my name is Casper, as you just said. And I'm also 19 years old. Turned 19 here in Valencia. We had a really good time. And I'm studying international business right now at ROC. I really like the study. It's a good study. I learn a lot. It's really broad. So I can still choose later on what I really want to do because I'm not sure quite yet. That's actually what these kind of internships are for.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying Valencia right now.
Fantastic. Welcome to Spain. Welcome to Valencia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So let's maybe start with some challenges, right, that you guys have been facing. Again, we're speaking to an audience out there that they want to understand not only, the pain that you felt, but, how you actually overcame the challenges that were dealt to you. So maybe let's maybe start with your journey on finding, business school. Like, why business school? Sam, why don't you start, Sam?
Well, to be fair, it was a bit of a surprise because I needed to leave my my middle school. So I was a bit in a dilemma, like, what do I want to do? And I knew that I'm pretty strong in the communication with people, and I wanted to convince people in those things. So I chose for the international business study. Because I thought beforehand, of course, the international internship, which was a good point for me. And I thought I wanted to keep it pretty broad, so I can do something after this study. And eventually chose for international business because it's not only the international internship, but there's also a lot of focus on talking English. Which I think is great to have later on in your career. So that's actually why I chose for this.
Fantastic. Casper, talk to our friends there. Why business school?
Why I chose business school? That's a good question. I was first of all, I was in high school. I got my diploma. I passed it, and I don't know. I think not everyone is familiar with the Dutch school system, but I could go a level higher up in high school and do another 2 years. But I really liked high school, but I liked the people and I liked the vibe. But I didn't really like the subjects because they just weren't interesting for me. So I was just looking at my options, talking also with my parents a lot. They are both in business.
Fantastic.
And I think I also like talking to people. I just really like the aspects of business and the things. So I was just looking around to do a study. And I was looking around and then I came across a study in general, international business. That was really interesting for me because of the subjects, like making your English better, the subjects, the international study that we're doing right now, internship, sorry. And I was looking around a couple schools, found ROC, had a really good vibe. I had an open day, talked with some teachers, talked with some students there, and it gave me a really good idea of how it was, and I just signed up, chose for it, and I think I'm going to stick to business in my further studies. So I'm really happy with my choice.
Awesome. So let's take you from there, from the decision, right? So you made a decision, international business. Let's talk a little bit what happens after that. So let's maybe try to explore some pains, right? Challenges, pains you still feel, challenges maybe you overcoming right now or overcame in the past. So Sam, talk a little bit about, some pains, challenges, how to overcome or...
Yeah, well, I think in general it's going, the study is going pretty good, but what I do feel like is a bit how to know what I want. I mean, I know that I want to do something in business, but there's a lot. And also on the school itself, you're not in a situation where you actually do the things that you want to do later on. So you only think, I want to do this, but you don't really try them. So of course there are 2 internship periods, and I did had a good first internship, and my current internship is also good. So that are moments where I can see how it's like. But also, as Casper also said, after this study, I want to do another study. And it's just really hard to find the perfect study there because there's so much choice, which is actually all a bit the same. But there's like just one thing different, and it's not even that complicated, but it's more, all these things can fit me, but which one fits me the best, and how can I find out which one fits me the best?
So it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is like too many options kind of problem, right? So it's like a little overwhelming.
Yeah, and also how to know what options are the best for me.
Best.
Because I know the options, and if I put some time in it and do some effort for it, I know which are the differences between them. But that won't help me with knowing which I want to do later on. So that's a bit the things that I need to look into.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the 2 internships. So you talk a little bit about the pain. So talk a little about the challenges you have overcame on the process, maybe on the first internship, maybe in the second internship that you're going through right now a little bit. What was the strategy, like, how the pain started, but, what you did to overcome those things?
Well, I think in the beginning at the first internship, because it's all new, and I was like, just turned 18, I think. Maybe I was even 17. So it was all a bit like, not even that you get dropped off and you need to do it yourself. There was some guidance, but of course, you need to do it eventually. And I think at the beginning, maybe it's not even scared. I think that's the wrong word for it, but you're maybe a bit too careful about just doing the stuff that your boss or a colleague asks you, and asking for the things that I do if it's good, and before doing it, showing it to everyone to get that confirmation that you're doing something good. And I think that is something which is not a bad thing to ask if I'm doing the things that I do good. But sometimes maybe just do it. And that's the way I think I learned the most at the first internship, is by just trying to figure it out myself and handle the things myself. And if something goes wrong, it can happen. And I'm still young and I'm an intern. So in the end, that's also a bit why I'm there.
Fantastic. Going back to the first internship, how did you feel when it finished, like when it ended?
Well, I did feel pretty good, because after my last internship, I also worked there. So that was good. So I did not have really negative things about that internship after. But of course, during the first 2-3 weeks, I did have some feelings, how to adapt to a situation. But after that, I did not have like bad things about it.
How do you compare the Sam that walked in the first internship to the Sam that walked in our office?
Well, at least I'm a bit older now, so that I think that is also just how you grow up. That is a difference in the end. But also because I had a lot of communication with people I know, people I don't know, people who are at the same level in the company, people who are maybe my boss. You get to learn how to communicate with them, and not even that you need to do it like different per person, but just how to come in that working flow. And I think that is the biggest thing I got from there, is just also when I walked in here, that I kind of already knew some things about what works, what doesn't work. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Fantastic. Casper, your turn.
Your turn. Repeat everything.
No, let's talk a little bit. I'll rephrase the question for you, okay?
Okay, perfect.
So let's talk a little bit about the pain of being a young student, right? Walking in the university day one. Let's talk a little bit about that first, okay? So think about Casper back in the day one. What was in your mind?
It was in my mind. I really didn't know, because I quit at high school. I got a diploma and didn't went through with high school. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was really hoping to fight it out and yeah, I was just a little bit scared also to go to a new university, new people, new things. That was one of the pain points. And yeah, when I go back to it earlier, like I didn't know what I wanted to do later on, and I really wanted to find it out at these kind of studies. That's also why I chose such a broad study. So I think that's a really big point for a lot of students. So also maybe the Dutch school system, because it's really complicated because there are a lot of different levels, and there are a lot of pressure on some kind of levels. Like maybe a little bit of a lower level really has pressure to go a higher level, because a lot of companies don't hire from a lower level, and you want to go through with it. So that can lead for a lot of people, so for some academic stress. So I think that's a really big point where a lot of students in the Netherlands struggle with.
Would you say, when you mention the word stress, right, what's in your mind when you mention the word? Is it the pressure of like not knowing where I'm gonna end up? Like, talk a little bit about the stress of being a student, that walked in the system, and now, you're going through the hoops, right?
Yeah, it's like you don't know.
Where is the stress coming from?
Yeah, it's like you don't know what you have to do to be successful later on. Do you just pay attention, get good grades, but you also have to find a good job after that? It's not only all about doing well in school. Because if you study everything and you know all the theory about, for example, if you do a sales study and you learn all the basics, you learn all the like the theoretics, like the theory.
Theory?
Just a theory.
Yeah, the theory.
of
Yeah, you can know that all, but you also know how to do that on the job. It's hard to also.
To just use the theory that you're getting learned.
Use the theory that you get learned to really do it in your job, in your future job. It's really hard to find that and how to figure it out. And I think that's can get a lot of stress for a lot of people because you don't know what you're gonna end up at.
Yeah, can I add something on that? Because I also think that's a part of the confidence in doing this, because you know the theory and you know what to do. But I think it's in a new situation where you don't know anyone. I think it's not necessarily a problem, as mentioned earlier, but you're just searching for confirmation from people. Like, I know the theory and now I need to do it myself. And although I may know that I do it correctly, you still want to hear it from someone. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of young people or students. And if that's in a supermarket or in a sales company, I think there's no really big difference in that.
I think it's about, you made a decision and you want to, keep confirming that was the right decision, or on a future decision you're going to make, you're looking for confirmation. Casper, let's go back to the first internship you did.
Yes.
Talk to me about who that Casper was, feelings, things in your head going on. Talk to me a little bit about that Casper that walked in the first day on that first internship.
Yeah. Now, when I was starting my first internship, I was 17 years old. I was also the youngest person in that whole company. It was a really big company, so that was. So I was really the youngest. There were no intern. There were a lot of interns there at that company, but they were all like in their 20s, maybe some even like 28 years old. So I was really the youngest. I was also in a sales team. I was hired for 2 specific jobs, and I really didn't. I needed to fit in. I wanted to do everything right. I wanted to do everything perfect because I promised them all kind of things that I'm really good at it and things, but I still needed to prove it. But after the internship there, I got really good guidance. It was really good, and I came out stronger, more experienced in a kind of field, how to work in a company, work with other people. Disagreeing maybe with even people like on our part. I also learned how to speak up. Like if I was like, my old boss said this, and I was like, I don't think that's good. That's a really good thing I learned. And I'm through that internship, I feel more comfortable now, like saying if you have an ID maybe for MyTrencher, and I say that's a really bad ID, I'm feeling more confident saying that now. So I think that's really good. So I think I came out more confident, more experienced.
Believe in yourself, confident.
Yeah, more believing in yourself.
Like getting ready to like tackle the job market.
Yeah, just
Fantastic.
like really starting a business.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I was going to ask some of but you answered them, which is great. So let's now maybe talk a little bit and maybe have you two kind of talking at the same time or about the same thing. Walk us through the support you got from the institution on finding the internship or, guiding you on where you want to be when you leave the institution. Talk a little bit about that layer of like support and guidance that you have there.
For the internship part, we're now in our third year. I think, was it in our second year that we started last period, the lessons?
Yeah, I think that there was some guidance in the first year, but in the second year there were like literally preparation lessons for.
So we had one preparation lesson per week on all the information and how to find it. But it was really up to yourself. You had to find the internship yourself. Personally, me and Sam were maybe a little bit too late with it. We waited till after summer to really look for it. And then we figured out that it was way harder than we thought. So we had to find the internship fast because we needed to start in November to pass our studies. Otherwise, we would have to pay for an extra school year, and that would be a waste of money. So we started contacting all kind of companies through the Dutch website, Stagemarkt. And we got a lot of, I got a lot of things like also like per fall. We really wanted to go together. There was one place who only did cold calling and they only could accept one of us. So it was really hard. So at the end, our teacher, Ingrid, who helped us a lot, she had a contact person with the Learning Abroad, the one that found you guys.
The agency?
The agency. So we got in contact with them, talked with the lady, Christina, and she listened to our demands, what we wanted in an internship, and then we got a couple options. Like one of the options was just MyTrencher.
Fantastic.
And we really like MyTrencher. Do you want me to tell why we chose for MyTrencher?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
There will be we had options. It came down to two companies. One a little bit bigger company, and one startup, MyTrencher. And we thought a big company. We both worked at big companies at our last internship, and we thought that's fun, but we really want to do something else because at an introduction meeting with Peter we already had. He told us about the company. We liked the ID. We were really interested about the ID, and he told us especially like you are going to be a part of everything. You are going to do everything. Be taken with everything, like every assignment, every big decision we make, you also needed to give your opinion about it. So that's, I think, why we really chose for MyTrencher, right?
I think in short it is. I think what needs to be said is that we chose for an office to find us an internship. That's not necessarily because we were way too late. That's also because there's just not a lot of good places
that's true.
On like the Stagemarkt we use, because they have in the Netherlands you need to have the accreditation for a company to get interns. But the companies that were on there were some good ones, but it was like the standard mail reply from yes, we already have someone or something like that.
Yeah.
And apart from that, there were just not that many companies where we feel like we're really an add-on for them. And that's why we chose for the office. So, of course, there will be people who find something through Stagemarkt.
Yeah, to themselves, but it's like they're not all that good of options. A lot of cold. One big thing for us, we didn't want to only cold call. And that's a lot of companies only cold call.
Yeah,
with
it takes a lot of effort too.
Yeah, so we just we wanted to have a good internship. So we decided to get the agency.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to have a good time in Valencia and not just really hate our work and have a good time in the weekend and things, but we want to have both enjoy our work and enjoy weekends and free time.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the job market and maybe make a connection between job market and your journey as a student. Right? Think a little bit about the first internship or the second internship, doesn't matter, but something that you learned in the classroom and you are applying at the actual challenge, at the actual job. It doesn't have to be specific, because I doubt it's going to be, oh, I learned this and I apply that, but maybe some rough, high-level ideas of like, this prepared me to the first internship, or that prepared me to the second internship.
Well, I think as you said, like it's not one-on-one that you're gonna copy it in the work, but I think what the advantage of our study was is that we also had just tests, but we also had a lot of projects where you need to presentate in front of a class. Sometimes even like we had needed to make a plan for a company, and the company comes over to the school and you present it to them. I think that is the main thing, and not even the presentation skills, but mainly daring to communicate with people. And of course that sounds very like, otherwise you won't even talk. Of course you can communicate already, but getting used to it and getting maybe not confident in it, but just knowing how to pick up some situations. And I think that's the most important thing I found out to be very useful during my internship. Yeah.
Casper, anything to add there? Because like, here's where I'm coming from. You guys, that's a very wide net. When we're talking about business school, they have a job that is like immense. They have to prepare, you guys to something that is can be anything, right?
Yeah.
So I want people like that on the other side there that are going to a trade school to see that difference on how like a trade school vocational program can be very, very specific, but on your case, based on what you said, Sam, is different because they're preparing me for anything and everything, right?
Yeah.
Would you guys say that that's the case?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you scary?
Well, I
Make
think
you scared,
I
sorry.
think to be fair for us, I think it's good because we want to do something after. But there are also a lot of people who won't go to, it's called HBO in the Netherlands, but who will stop after this study. And for those people, I mean, there are options. So it's not like they won't find anything, but it's so broad that it's you. If you don't know what you want to do, you cannot get any information from your study to get some more guidance. But on the other side, I think it's pretty good that it's so general, because if I sell a pen or a football or a PlayStation, let's say, it's not about the product itself. It's more about the ability to present it. And I think on that side, it's pretty good because you don't necessarily learn the product things, but more the skill how to open yourself up in such situations. So it has two sides. But I think it's a bit for everyone on their own how they experience it.
Let's talk now a little bit about misconceptions, things that before starting at the university, before starting at one of the internships, you thought they would happen, they would be true, but then in the end they were false.
Well, I think the study itself, I don't really had misconceptions about it. I think that was pretty. Of course, there are some things a bit different. But the main thing that I was not even struggling with, but more asking myself about how am I gonna do that is, of course, when you're studying, everyone is a bit on the same age group. Someone is 2 years older, someone's 2 years younger. But on the internship at a company, you're most of the time one of, if not the youngest there. So I was a bit not scared, but more how am I gonna handle myself in a situation where everyone around you has way more experience, knows how to handle things already, and also just apart from the job itself, on the Friday afternoon, how to have a fun afternoon with people who are a lot older than you. but in the end, I think that's something that I was a bit struggling with. But it's just working there for 2-3 weeks, and it's okay already. So
And
I think
like-
that's the biggest thing. But also that it's not like it's been a very big struggle. So it's that's the only thing I can imagine.
Thank you. Casper, anything to add there?
No, I think I agree with the youngest part. Just as I said, that my first internship was the oldest in the whole company. So that was kind of pressure, but at the end it all figured out. I have nothing to add.
All right, no problem. Let's. I think it's important for the audience there. I see a trend, and that has been happening for a long, long time, where you have a lot of students focusing on a handful of companies, right? So the Googles, the Amazons, the Unilevers, like, you know, the behemoths, right? Inside the university, then, you know, they go there, they promote themselves and all that. And then that, you know, you have like a lot of those students actually applying for, you know, let's say 10, 20, 50 opportunities, but we have like, I don't know, 3,000 students. So there's a problem there. So how do you compare the first internship you had at a bigger company to the second internship you're going through right now? You know, you can choose the variables. How do you compare those two things from your perspective?
I think the difference is that at a bigger company, you're for me I was hired only for one job, for 2 jobs actually. At the end, I did 2 things, and that's what I did the entire period. For a smaller company now, like MyTrencher, where I'm working for, I didn't get hired for something specific. I get hired because I'm also young. I'm the students that they want to reach, so I can help with developing the business. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons I also chose MyTrencher. And the small company, I can just you guys really take us with us on your path and what you are doing. So it's really more of a learning experience, because I can like, for example, if Peter wants this, I can help him with this, and then if you want that, I can help him with that. So I have a lot of different jobs, a lot of different things, like in all kind of sectors, like sales, marketing, like all that kind of things. And I think one of the best parts why MyTrencher, you guys actually hired us, is because we are younger. We are the group you want to reach. And no offense, you guys are a little bit older, so you don't really know what maybe we want. You can think maybe you think, oh, you are gonna find this great, and then me and Sam were like,
no, it's not.
Nah.
Yeah, and that's why
that's people of our age don't like that. So I think that's one of the best the things that we do here. Really help get a student perspective in there, to help you guys grow.
Fantastic. I agree with what you said, and that's why both of you are key to what we're doing. Again, we're doing, as we always say, by students for students, right? That's why we ask their feedback all the time. We're not Gen Z, talent, right? And we just don't know, right? So, and just want to say how much you appreciate, the advice and everything you guys shared. And again, I want you to actually tell me when it's wrong and why it's wrong, and actually say, hey, I think this is the right way of doing this. Sam, how about you? I'm pretty sure you guys didn't do the internship on the same place the first time, right?
No.
How do you compare bigger company to startup, and how does that make you feel?
Well, I think like pure objectively, you just do here a lot more, like more different things. At my last internship, to be fair, I helped with a lot of stuff, but in the end, you're just in a team, and that is your like one of the 5 teams in the company. Let's say it like that, which is not a bad thing, I think. For me, it was just the first internship and the second internship. I wanted to have a completely different experience. So that's one of the reasons. And then coming here at MyTrencher, I think that's for me until now what I like the most is at a bigger company, you have like for different situations, like a standard protocol. This is how we're gonna do it. And of course, you can give your own touch on it. but there's already a route planned out for you how you need to do it. And here it is way more free in not only in the things we do, it's more different things, but also in the way we do it. It's just it's all way more open. And since day one, we had a Teams call with Peter, and that was the first impression we both got after that call, is that we wouldn't be there to just get some coffee for you guys and chill around. And of course, it's also from our side, we need to do things and we need to actually work. But I think that is also what is the good part, is that we, from both parties, I think we expect something from each other. What makes it for me the better, because you have a real responsibility, but you can also give your own taste to everything in the way you do it. And what I really like is that everyone here is just being honest towards each other. If it is about a big thing or a small thing, we always say what we think is the best choice, which is also a bit different in a bigger company, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you. Again, I'm gonna reiterate that we're so happy to have you on the team.
We're happy to be here.
You guys are very easy to work with, and we appreciate the ideas, the feedback that you guys provide every day. It's been awesome having you both on board.
Yes.
Thanks.
I would like to share a little piece of advice for the audience right now for you guys. So if you could, for all the students and early grads watching this right now, what would be like a piece of advice you would share for them that you learned the hard way or the easy way, but you think you could deliver value to them right now, wherever they are on the journey?
I think one of the good advice is just to do it, just to try things. That no is also an answer, and that's not necessarily bad always. Just try new things, do things. Like, for example, I was really really bit scared, a little bit scared to come here to Valencia on my own, live on my own for the first time. But and it really worked out. It's good. So just do things, or maybe try an internship. And if you don't like it at the end, that's also a good thing. That you know that you don't want to do that later. That's also a good experience in the end.
So it's about not doing the right or wrong thing, but learning.
Yeah, learning.
Right?
Just try things. You learn things
For failure,
do it.
for success.
Yeah.
Sam, how about yourself? What's one piece of advice that you
Yeah.
could share?
I think a bit the same. The only thing I can think of about a bit more about that is that if you do it, which is for many people a big step, to just do things, what we said, turn the theory into actually work. But also, if something goes wrong, don't stop with doing it after, because then you're never gonna get used to it. So although you may make a mistake, and you still need to practice it, and eventually that will.
Yeah. So learn from your mistake.
Yeah, and not stop after it. Not like, okay, now I can't do this, so I won't do it anymore. I think that's the biggest add-on. But his answer was already pretty good.
Awesome. For both of you, the question is, what does success look for yourself when you are out of the university? And maybe also as you start your careers. What does success look like when you're done with the university, and maybe 5 years from now?
Yes. I think success for me would be like that I finished it, of course, that I learned a lot, and for me also that I know what I want to do now. When I'm done, I want to know what I like, what I dislike, which way in a business I'm going to do. Oh, is it sales or is it marketing? I still haven't figured it out, so I think that's success for me, if I know that. And I think also when I then get started on my first job and be confident in my first job, that I know that I am qualified and I can do this. I think that's success for me.
Fantastic. Sam, how about yourself?
Yeah, a bit the same, I think. But as Casper also mentioned, the most important thing for me is I think that I know what I want to do. Because after you're finished, you get your paper and you can technically do, let's say, 5 type of jobs. But that everyone knows that after they what they can do with their study. But what Casper also meant, just knowing what I want to do in that sector, so that I know that I'm happy when I'm starting to work. And that doesn't need to mean that I have to get like the perfect job in the first time. Of course, that will be ideal. But at least know what makes me happy, and that can still be 2 jobs where I don't find it perfect. But then I know what I'm missing, and I think that's the main thing for me.
Awesome. How do you feel a product like MyTrencher would help yourselves if you could go back in time and can help other students out there today?
I think the app itself, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the app itself can really help you find what you want to do, where you want to do it, and have the confidence that you are going to find a job after this, that you're ready for a job. I think that's a really strong part of the MyTrencher app, because it also helps you with choosing, like, do you like this one?
Career paths.
The career paths, like, do you like this one? Do you like this one? No, I don't like that one. Oh, then this is not for you, and this is maybe something for you.
To
So
explore.
it really helps you find your path, find your way. I think that would be the best part for me. Just to ensure that you're ready and that you know what you want to do.
Awesome. Sam, how about yourself? If you had MyTrencher back then when you were looking for internships,
Yeah.
how would that be different than what you did?
Well, I think it's for the internship, but also for a job later. Is that I think there are a lot of students that think, okay, when I'm done with my study, I will know what I want to do. But the reality is that a lot of them don't know it, and then you need to do some skill up after the study when you actually wanted to be done with it. So I think that's the biggest thing, that if I could use it like 2 years ago, that you could use it during your study, and if you have a bit of a way you want to go, that you can skill up during your study and know where you are, and internship wise, I think there's just you can find a more specific internship which fits more to you. Although that may not be the situation in my case, but I know only in my class I already know like 10 people who had an internship, and 5 of them didn't even finish it there, and the other 5 were like, okay, I need to go through with it, and I'll see after, but I need to do it. And I think the goal needs to be that people wants to do an internship there, and not because the school.
They have to.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing for the internship, what MyTrencher can help with. So yeah, that's for me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for being here today.
Yeah.
I had
Thank you for
a
the
ton of
interview.
fun interviewing you guys. I hope you guys did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that helps the people on the other side of this, watching that, with helping them in a way that they feel more confident. They understand how internship works and what you guys have been learning and all that, so they can see the value. And ideally, we help the youth out there trying to get out of the education system and hopefully land a job. Thank you both, and thank you for you guys watching this.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Alberto.